Hey folks, welcome back to our Dice Tower preview. I'm Mark, and today we're taking a look at Blazon. Blazon is brought to you by 25th Century Games. It's for 1 to 4 players, ages 14 and up, and games generally run 30 to 60 minutes. The widespread use of armorial bearings in the Middle Ages gave rise to a new occupation of herald. These heralds had the responsibility of learning and maintaining the rules and protocols governing the design and description or blazoning of arms. A game of Blazon allows you to act as a herald, designing your own heraldic shield by acquiring elements, placing them on your shield board, and earning distinctions through careful choices. Players score prestige by placing element cards on their shield boards. Players can score bonus prestige by earning distinctions for their shields. The player with the most prestige at the end of the game wins and is crowned the King of Arms. Each player is going to receive their own player shield, where you're trying to build out your tableau, basically placing cards on it and so forth. Now, there's some tokens here. You've got distinction tokens that you're going to be tracking your progress along, getting extra points into the game. You've also got your prestige token, which is tracking your score around your board, and an abatement token, which is an optional rule, and they definitely suggest you use that after you're more familiar with the game. But this is basically where you're going to be playing through the course, trying to be the first one to complete your shield. And these cards that you're going to be playing on your shield have a series of icons and also placement rules that are listed on the side of the card. So only certain slots can be played in based on where it says on the card and so forth. So the interesting thing though is that the icons are going to do various things. They're going to dictate where you play on your shield, as well as what you're trying to achieve in those extra distinction points at the end of the game. So yes, this game is all about getting the most prestige points, but you are trying to blazon your shield with cards and make it look pretty amazing actually. It is a bit of a puzzle element as well, but you're trying to get those prestige points by laying out these cards and maximizing your point values. Now, with that, the variable part of the game are distinction cards, and they're going to be placed at the top of the main board. The main board is really cool actually, because you could play the game from this board. Everything you need to know is right here in icon form. But these distinction cards will be placed at the top. You have 5 different decks. You're going to be shuffling them up and then placing them out individually into the different slots. Now, based on the player count, will also determine the orientation that you place these cards. But these cards are going to be for end-game scoring, like I said, and you're trying to achieve the patterns and symbols that it calls for on your main board. So in this 3-player game, you'll see that there are slots for first, second, and third, giving you 5, 3, and a single point for last place when you achieve these goals of these cards. Now, you have 2 main decks. You've got your tincture cards, which are with the circle, and you've got your device cards with a square. And those are the symbols that you're going to be matching on your player boards and so forth in order to achieve these things. And obviously completing your shield in order to give you the most prestige points and hopefully winning the game. Now, the game is very, very straightforward. You have 2 main options for playing. And the first one being just drawing cards. You can draw from either deck, you can draw 2 from one, you can draw 1 for 1, but you can also exchange cards in the rows below from the decks and the cards that you drew. So that's really all you're doing on your turn if you choose to draw a card and collect. Now you have a maximum hand size of 7, so keep that in mind. And your second main action is to play cards. Now with both of these, you have to choose one or the other. You can't do both. So in playing cards, you will have to pay the cost. So if you have a card that's worth 5 prestige points, you have to have enough in your hand to pay that cost and discard those other cards. You'll place it on your board. Now, there's rows and columns here, and there's icons that you have to match. So if you match icons for one of the cards, it does determine their kind of placement on the board in that row. So everything else in that row has to match that placement up or down, so to say. So you may have to give up some spots in order to achieve what you're trying to do based on the cards that you're trying to get maximum points for. So there's lots of interesting choices around how you play these cards out. Now, as you play these cards on your player board, you'll be gathering the prestige points that are listed on them, tracking them around the edge. Now, there are milestones around the edge of the board as well, from 10 to 20, 30, 40, and 50, allowing you to get some bonus points and some other options. So if you're the first one to arrive at those spots, then you'll gather one of these animal tokens, which are super cool. give you 2 extra points at the end of the game. Everyone else, though, is going to get a Herald token. These Herald tokens, we'll take a look at what they do for you. They do give you a single point extra at the end of the game, but you can use them to do some additional actions on your turn. So these Herald tokens are going to give you 4 additional actions that you can tap into. And the big one that I use quite frequently is the ability to play a card from your hand and only have to pay 1 prestige point in order to play that card, which can be super handy if you have like a 5-point card you want to get out there. So you'll always discard your Herald token when you take advantage of these. Secondly, you can just refresh the display that's out on the main board, showing cards that are available to everybody. And then you have the choice of drawing cards from either of the decks or the display. And then you can also draw cards from the discard piles from the top. So lots of different choices here using those Herald tokens, but you can also get extra points at the end of the game if you hold on to them. So giving you some real nice balancing and some choices to be made. So those are the basics of play. It is very puzzly. You're trying to complete that tableau. And there are 3 main game end triggers. Either you complete your shield filling all the slots, or you've hit 50 prestige points or more, or you've claimed the last spot on the distinction cards, getting those points for the end of the game. So when you calculate all those points, then the player with the most prestige is going to be named the King of Arms. All right, folks, just a reminder once again, this has been a Dice Tower paid preview, and everything you've seen here has been in prototype form, so keep a close eye on the campaign for any changes that still may occur. Now, with that said, this prototype looks and feels done though. They did a really nice job. And I like the fact that everything you need to know is here on the main board for playing, and it's really quick to teach, really quick to learn, but some interesting choices, some tough choices along the way as you build out your tableaus and play the right cards to get the maximum points. But folks, ultimately, if this looks like something that would be of interest to you, I'm sure they'd appreciate your support. So I think that's it for me, and until next time, we'll see you at the table.